Hi guys, welcome to episode 24 of Aeroland. In this episode I'm going to expand the area a bit, add a little bit more details and placing some trees around the area and stuff like that. Just fill it up a little bit more. I start off with the new terrain textures I've added. Just editing the terrain a little bit all around the place to make it look a little bit better. I'm really happy with the way they implemented this new feature with the custom biomes, and it really helped me make it look just a little bit better than with the bright sand I used before. Over here I'm going to construct a gate-like thing to the area. So when you enter the area you will have to walk underneath this gate, and it will basically say something along the lines of "Welcome to the West." So I started off by placing a few wooden beams and just get the general shape of the gate. I didn't want to put too much effort in it, to be fair, but I did want it to look good. So I made like a wooden frame, and on the frame there will be a sign, and I'm going to add some decorations like skulls and stuff on the beams to make it look a little bit better. And I wanted to place this animated cowboy like leaning against the gate to greet the guests while they walk in or while they walk out. And for the back of the gate I did not really know what to do, so I just left it empty for now. It's filling this area a little bit more, so I'm sure the entrance to this area is kind of finished. Placing some cacti and more bushes all around the place. So, as I said before, the rocks are looking pretty good, but it's still very empty at the moment, so I'm just going to fill the whole area up with more trees and more bushes and maybe a few more rocks to make it a little bit more diverse, I guess. First of all, I wanted to finish this cliff, this corner over here. So when this corner is finished, it's like the whole track of the ride is covered in rocks, and at least that is finished. And later in this episode I'm going to add a few triggers and more details around the track itself. And even though they added the terrain textures in the latest update, so I could just raise the terrain and color the raised terrain in the same color as the rocks. I've already used rocks all over the ride, so I wanted just to continue in the same setting, I guess. It's weird when like 80% of the ride is covered in rocks and the last 20% is made by just raising the terrain and stuff like that. So over here there was still a stone bridge, a bridge with a normal footpath, so I decided to change this one with the custom wooden paths as well. I had a slight issue in this corner because the path was sticking to the terrain, so it got raised ever so slightly, and I had to think of something to cover up the edge as well. So I decided to just rotate the boards a little bit. These bridges still need some railings. I'm not doing them in this episode, but all bridges still need railings and stuff. I just laid down the floor, so that's finished. And as I said in a few episodes back, I still wanted to cover up a little bit of the queue line, because at the moment a big part of the queue line is in the bright sun, and when you're standing still in the sun for like half an hour, that's really getting to you. So that's why most theme parks, especially in warmer areas, have a lot of shade in the queue lines. So I cut ahead a little bit because this was a lot of placement of bushes and stuff, and it's not really that interesting. There's also not very much to say about it, so I just got ahead to this part where I'm adding animatronics along the tracks. And the idea was to have to make a shootout between these two cowboys or bandits, but if there's only two, I thought it was kind of empty, so I decided to add a third, which was just hiding behind this rock like this. And one of the cowboys is shooting at this other cowboy who is standing next to a water tower, and he's a really bad shot, so he hits the water tower a few times, and when he shoots at the water tower there will be a leak in the water tower and the water will be spraying out onto the onto the ride. It just adds another element for a ride like this. I'm just going to fix the timing here and skipping ahead to the results. So after I fixed the timing, I just added a little bit more bushes and trees around this area to fill it up a little bit more. And then this area is kind of finished, at least from the point of view of the ride. And as I said before, I wanted to create some shading around this queue line of this ride. And I decided to use this canvas stand at the entrance because it kind of looks funny. It fits the cowboy theme and it just looks good. And I decided to just make like a wooden roofing above the queue line at least at this area. And because the roof didn't really fit that nice, I decided to make a custom roof out of planks. And what I did was basically I laid down the frame of the planks and then I just placed these planks horizontal and lowered them down a little bit each step and copy it over. And that's the simple roofing I made. Just copied it over and rotated it to the other side. And I wanted to move it over a little bit so it wouldn't be a straight roofing, just add a little bit more playfulness to the roofing, I guess. I wanted to have another water feature on the ride over here. So I decided to place some of these waterfalls and just made them activate with a trigger. When a boat passes by, I wanted them to activate, and I wanted them to activate a little bit beforehand so the guest on the ride would see them activate and be like, oh no, there's a waterfall, you know? And this is something I wanted to try. I wanted to add like a on-ride photo camera opportunity, if that makes any sense. So I decided to simply made a black box and made some white lines around it to add some more details, I guess. Just so it's not a simple black box. And I just placed this spotlight inside it. I hung a sign over here like smile. And the next step is make a trigger on the ride and make sure the spotlight is only activated for a very short time. And it will result in the illusion that there's a photo being made. So it's something small, but I really like the idea and it turned out really well. I'll show some good shots in the live part. Over here I'm just filling up the other side of the train tracks a little bit, so the part of the train tracks is kind of finished because I had to cover up the other side of the train tracks as well. It's not intended that you can see very far, so it just has to cover up at least at eye height, so I can build something behind it if I'm going to start a new area. And when you're driving through the western area, it's not intended that you will see something completely different in the background. So I made a few hills and placed some of these rocks, and that's enough to hide anything that I will build behind it. That's the last thing I'm doing in this time lapse. I'll quickly go over everything in the live part of this video, and I'll just show a few things I've done and my ideas of how it turned out.